The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers slid open with a deep hum that echoed through the vast hall. Kim Tae-ho straightened his shoulders and walked forward, his footsteps clicking against the polished metal floor. The chamber was enormous, with rows of seats rising up in circles around a central platform. Each seat was designed for a different alien species, and today most of them were filled. Tae-ho had been Earth's ambassador to the Interstellar Senate for only 3 months. He was still getting used to the sight of so many different creatures in one place. There were the tall, blue-skinned Catherians with their multiple arms. The floating, jellyfish-like ethereals glowed softly in their special atmospheric bubbles. The reptilian draconians sat perfectly still, their yellow eyes tracking his every movement. At the center of the chamber, Chancellor Vexmar of the Catherian Empire rose from his seat. His forearms spread wide in what Tae-ho had learned was either a greeting or a threat, depending on the situation. Today, it felt like a threat. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho of the human species. Vexmar's voice boomed through the chamber's translation system. You have been summoned to answer for your people's actions. Tae-ho bowed slightly, as was proper. Chancellor Vexmar, honored members of the Senate, I am here to serve. 3 days ago, Vexmar continued, our long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature moving through space near human territory. This signature was unlike anything we have seen before. It was large, powerful, and moving directly toward our most secure regions of space. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Tae-ho kept his face calm, but inside, his heart was racing. They had detected the ship. He had hoped they would have more time. High Curator Zelnari of the Ethereal Collective floated forward, her translucent form shimmering. The energy readings suggest a vessel of enormous size and power. Yet humanity has never registered such a ship with the Senate's fleet registry, as required by galactic law. Commander Thex Allen of the Draconian Hegemony stood up, his scales rattling with anger. This is exactly what we expected from these newcomers. They join our peaceful alliance and immediately begin building weapons in secret. Weapons? Tae-ho asked, trying to sound surprised. Honorable Commander, I assure you that humanity has no intention of silence. Vexmar's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. We are not here to listen to your lies, human. We are here to deliver an ultimatum. The word ultimatum hung in the air like poison. Tae-ho felt sweat forming on his forehead, but he forced himself to remain calm. This was exactly what they had prepared for. Senator Quindar of the Mediator Coalition raised one of his 6 hands. His species was known for being fair and peaceful, which made his next words even more frightening. Ambassador Kim, the Senate has voted. If humanity cannot produce this vessel and prove that it poses no threat to galactic peace, your species will be expelled from the Interstellar Senate immediately. Furthermore, Commander Thex Allen added with obvious pleasure, all trade agreements with human worlds will be cancelled. All human ships will be banned from entering any system controlled by Senate members. Your people will be completely cut off from galactic civilization. Tae-ho's mind raced. Complete isolation would be a disaster for humanity. Earth had become dependent on alien technology for many things. Medical advances, faster-than-light communication, energy systems, all of it would disappear overnight. Honorary Wang, members, Tae-ho said carefully. May I ask what evidence you have that this vessel is a weapon? Could it not be a research ship or perhaps a cargo transport? High Curator Zelnari's glow pulsed brighter. No research vessel or cargo ship has ever generated energy readings like these. Our scientists calculate that this ship's power core is larger than most space stations. And it appeared without warning, Vexmar added. No flight plan, no communication with traffic control, no identification signals. This is the behavior of a warship preparing for battle. The accusations were flying now. Other senators began shouting from their seats. Humans are too primitive to build such technology honestly. They must have stolen it. Or worse, they're working with enemies of the Senate. Tae-ho raised his hands for silence. Please, honored senators, I understand your concerns, but I need time to contact my government and… Time? Commander Thex Allen laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. You have had 3 days to explain this mystery ship. How much more time do you need to create lies? I am not creating lies, Tejo said firmly. But I cannot speak for ships that I know nothing about. I need to communicate with Earth to get accurate information. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some senators were calling for humanity's immediate expulsion. Others demanded that human space be searched by Senate forces. A few even suggested that the mystery ship should be destroyed on sight. Through all the chaos, Tejo noticed that Senator Quindar was watching him carefully. The mediator's large eyes seemed to be studying Tejo's reactions. Finally, Quindar raised his hands again. Perhaps, the mediator said slowly, we are being too hasty. Ambassador Kim appears genuinely surprised by these accusations. It is possible that his government has not informed him of this vessel's existence. Or, Vexmar said coldly, he is an excellent liar. Tejo took a deep breath. This was the moment he had trained for. Chancellor Vexmar, I give you my word as Earth's representative that I will contact my government immediately. If this vessel exists, and if it belongs to humanity, I will arrange for you to meet with its commander. You will do more than that, Vexmar declared. You will bring this ship here to Nexus Prime Station where the Senate can inspect it personally. You have exactly 72 hours. And if I cannot? Tejo asked, though he already knew the answer. Then, humanity will be declared an enemy of galactic peace, Commander Thex Allen said with satisfaction. Your species will be banned from all civilized space, forever. The session ended with the bang of Vexmar's ceremonial gavel. As the alien delegates filed out, many of them glared at Tejo with suspicion and anger. He stood alone on the central platform, feeling the weight of his entire species' future on his shoulders. When the chamber was finally empty except for a few security guards, Tejo activated his personal communicator. The device looked like a simple wristwatch, but it contained quantum encryption technology that even the advanced alien races couldn't crack. Priority 1 transmission to Earth Defense Command, he said quietly into the device. Authorization code, Midnight Sun. The response came immediately. Ambassador Kim, this is Admiral Cho Kyung-jin. We've been monitoring the Senate session. The situation has developed exactly as we predicted. Admiral, they know about the ship. They want to see it in 72 hours, or they'll expel humanity from the Senate permanently. Understood, Ambassador. Captain Park Min-soo is already preparing for departure. The Indomitable will arrive at your location in exactly 71 hours. Tejo felt a mix of relief and terror. Relief that the plan was working, terror at what would happen when the aliens saw humanity's greatest secret. Admiral, are we really ready for this? Once they see the ship, there's no going back. Admiral Cho's voice was steady and confident. Ambassador, humanity has been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Ever since we first made contact with alien civilizations, we knew this day would come. We knew that eventually, someone would challenge our right to exist as equals among the stars. But what if they try to destroy the ship? What if they see it as too much of a threat? Then they will learn why humanity has survived every challenge we've ever faced, the Admiral replied. Captain Park has his orders. Dr. Lee So-young has completed all final systems checks. The Indomitable is ready to show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of. Tejo closed the connection and walked toward his private quarters. As he moved through the station's corridors, he passed groups of aliens who stopped talking when they saw him. Some looked afraid, others looked angry. A few seemed curious about what humanity would do next. In his room, Tejo sat down at his desk and began composing reports. He had to document everything that had happened in the Senate session. These reports would become part of human history, one way or another. As he worked, his mind kept drifting to the ship that was now racing toward them through hyperspace. The Indomitable was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While alien civilizations had spent thousands of years perfecting energy-based weapons and defenses, humans had taken a completely different approach. He thought about Dr. Lee So-young, the brilliant engineer who had designed many of the ship's systems. She had spent years studying alien technology, looking for weaknesses and blind spots. What she had discovered had changed everything. He thought about Captain Park Min-soo, the calm and experienced officer who would soon face the greatest test of his career. Park had volunteered for this mission knowing that he might not survive, but he also knew that the future of humanity might depend on his success. Most of all, he thought about Earth. His homeworld was counting on him to buy them time and set the stage for what was coming. Billions of humans were going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. The next 71 hours would be the longest of Taeho's life. He had to maintain his cover, pretending to be just as surprised as everyone else about the mystery ship. He had to field Q. The alarm systems throughout Nexus Prime Station began wailing at exactly 14:27 Galactic Standard Time. In the Senate's main control center, dozens of technicians stared at their screens in disbelief. The massive energy signature they had been tracking for days had just appeared directly above the station. "Impossible," whispered the duty officer, a nervous Catharian named Veltar. "Nothing that large should be able to drop out of hyperspace so close to the station. The gravitational interference alone should have torn it apart." Commander Thex Allen burst into the control room, his heavy footsteps shaking the floor. "Report. What is the status of this human vessel?" Veltar's four hands danced across his control panel, pulling up sensor data. "Sir, the ship is holding position exactly 10,000 kilometers above us. It's massive, Commander. Our computers estimate it to be nearly 2 kilometers long." 2 kilometers? Thex Allen's scales changed color from green to dark red, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. "That's larger than most battlecruisers. What are its weapon signatures?" "That's the strange part, sir. We're not detecting any energy weapons at all. No plasma cannons, no particle beam arrays, no quantum torpedoes. The ship appears to be completely unarmed." Commander Thex Allen studied the main display screen. The image showed a vessel unlike anything in the Galactic Fleet databases. Where alien ships were sleek and curved, designed to channel energy efficiently, this human ship looked like a massive brick made of dull gray metal. "Sir?" another technician called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the vessel. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a human male in a simple blue uniform. He appeared to be middle-aged, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. His expression was completely relaxed, as if dropping a 2-kilometer warship on top of a major space station was perfectly normal. "Nexus Prime Station, this is Captain Park Min-soo of the Earth vessel Indomitable. I am requesting permission to dock with your station, so that I may address the Interstellar Senate as requested." Commander Thex Allen stepped forward, his massive frame filling the screen. "Human Captain, you have violated multiple Senate regulations by approaching this station without proper clearance. Explain yourself immediately." Captain Park smiled slightly. "Commander, I believe Ambassador Kim Tae-ho informed the Senate that a human diplomatic vessel would arrive today. I am simply fulfilling that promise." "Diplomatic vessel?" Thex Allen's voice was filled with disbelief. "That thing is a battleship." "I assure you, Commander, the Indomitable is designed specifically for peaceful diplomatic missions. However, I understand your concern. Perhaps it would be better if I spoke directly with the full Senate." Before Thex Allen could respond, Chancellor Vexmar's voice came over the communication system. "Captain Park, this is Chancellor Vexmar. The Senate is convening an emergency session. You are ordered to dock immediately so that your vessel can be inspected." "Of course, Chancellor. I am transmitting our docking requirements now." The transmission ended, leaving the control room in stunned silence. Finally, Veltar spoke up. "Sir, we're receiving their docking specifications. Commander, you need to see this." The data appeared on the screen, and Thex Allen's jaw dropped. The human ship was so heavy that it would require the station's most massive docking bay, the one usually reserved for cargo haulers carrying entire planets' worth of resources. "How is that possible?" Thex Allen muttered. "What did they build that ship out of?" On board the Indomitable, Captain Park Min-soo walked through the ship's corridors with Dr. Yoon Hai-wan, the vessel's xenobiologist. Through the ship's viewports, they could see the alien space station growing larger as they approached. Captain, Dr. Yoon said, checking her tablet. I've completed my analysis of the alien fleet positions around the station. There are over 200 vessels out there, including several battle cruisers from the Draconian hegemony. Are they taking offensive positions? Park asked calmly. Not yet, sir, but many of them have powered up their weapons and shields. They're clearly nervous about our arrival. Park nodded. That's to be expected. Dr. Lee, what's the status of our systems? Dr. Lee So-young looked up from her engineering console. She was a small woman, but her eyes burned with intelligence and determination. All systems are operating perfectly, Captain. The armor plating is holding steady, the power core is running at optimal levels, and the kinetic weapon systems are ready for demonstration if needed. Good. Remember, everyone, we're not here to start a fight. We're here to show the galaxy that humanity deserves respect. Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin, the ship's tactical officer, spoke up from her station. Sir, the alien vessels are scanning us continuously. They seem confused by our hull composition. Park smiled. I imagine they are. Dr. Lee, can you explain to our guests what they're seeing? Dr. Lee pulled up a holographic display showing the ship's outer hull. The aliens are used to ships made from energy-conducting materials, things like crystallized plasma, quantum-bonded metals, and bio-grown alloys. These materials are perfect for ships that rely on energy shields and energy weapons. But our ship is different? Park asked, even though he knew the answer. Completely different, sir. The Indomitable's hull is made from something the aliens haven't seen in thousands of years, simple iron and carbon composites, what they call primitive materials. Dr. Yoon looked puzzled. But why would we use primitive materials for such an advanced ship? Dr. Lee's smile was almost predatory. Because primitive materials have properties that the aliens have forgotten about. Iron and carbon don't conduct energy the way their advanced materials do. Their sensors can't penetrate our hull because they're designed to scan energy-based materials. And more importantly, Captain Park added, energy weapons have much less effect on solid matter than they do on the energy-based materials that alien ships are made from. The ship shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Through the main viewport, they could see crowds of aliens gathering to stare at their vessel. Many looked frightened. Others seemed angry. A few appeared genuinely curious. Sir, Han Soo-jin reported, we're receiving a priority message from Earth. Admiral, Cho Kyung-jin wants to speak with you. Put him through. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent his entire life preparing for war. Captain Park, how are you feeling? Ready, sir. The crew is prepared, and the ship is operating perfectly. Good. I've been monitoring the alien communications. They're calling emergency sessions, mobilizing security forces, and generally panicking about your arrival. That's exactly what we expected. Any new orders, Admiral? Just one. Remember that you're not just representing Earth today, Captain. You're representing the future of humanity among the stars. Show them what we're capable of, but show them that we can be trusted with that capability. Understood, sir. And Captain, make sure they understand that the Indomitable is just the beginning of what we've prepared. The transmission ended. Captain Park turned to his crew. All right, everyone. This is what we've trained for. Dr. Lee, I want you to prepare a full technical briefing about our defensive systems, but keep the weapon specifications classified until I give the order. Yes, sir. Dr. Yoon, compile everything we know about the psychological profiles of the major alien species. I need to understand how they're likely to react to what we're about to show them. Already done, Captain. I've prepared individual briefings for each species leadership. Excellent. Chief Weapons Officer Kang Ji-hoon. I want the kinetic systems ready for a demonstration, but nothing that could be seen as threatening. Kang Ji-hoon, a quiet man with steady hands and sharp eyes, nodded. The asteroid targeting system is prepared, sir. We can show them precision without showing them destruction. Captain Park looked around at his crew. These men and women represented the best of humanity. They were scientists, engineers, soldiers, and diplomats all rolled into one. And today, they would make history. One more thing, Park said. Once we leave this ship, we'll be surrounded by aliens who think humans are weak and primitive. Some of them want to see us fail. Others are genuinely afraid of what we might be capable of. Remember that our actions today will determine how the galaxy sees humanity for generations to come. The docking bay doors opened with a hiss of equalizing atmosphere. Captain Park straightened his uniform and walked toward the airlock. Behind him, his crew followed in perfect formation. The first thing Park noticed when he stepped onto the station was how many aliens were staring at him. The docking bay was packed with beings from dozens of different species, all trying to get a look at the humans who had appeared in their mysterious giant ship. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho was waiting for them, along with a full honor guard of Senate security forces. Park noticed that the security guards were all armed and looked very nervous. "Captain Park," Tae-ho said formally, "welcome to Nexus Prime Station. The Senate is ready to receive you." "Thank you, Ambassador. I'm ready to address their concerns." As they walked through the station's corridors, Park could hear the aliens whispering among themselves. His universal translator was picking up fragments of conversation. The Senate chamber's main viewing screen activated, showing a clear view of space around Nexus Prime Station. Captain Park Min-soo stood calmly at the center of the chamber while hundreds of alien representatives leaned forward in their seats, waiting to see what humanity had built. "Honored members of the Senate," Park began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. "Before we begin this demonstration, I want to explain humanity's philosophy regarding galactic security." Chancellor Vexmar's forearms crossed impatiently. "We are not here for philosophy lessons, Captain. We want to see proof that your vessel is not a threat to galactic peace. With respect, Chancellor, understanding our philosophy is crucial to understanding our technology." Park gestured toward the viewing screen. "Every species in this chamber has spent thousands of years perfecting energy-based weapons and defenses. Plasma cannons, quantum shields, particle beam arrays, all very advanced, all very effective. High Curator Zelnari's ethereal form pulsed brighter. Of course they are effective. Why would we use primitive kinetic weapons when we have access to pure energy manipulation?" Captain Park smiled. "That, Honored Curator, is exactly the question that changed everything for humanity." He activated a small communicator device. "Indomitable, this is Captain Park. Please prepare for demonstration sequence Alpha." On the viewing screen, the massive human ship began to move. Unlike the smooth, graceful movements of alien vessels, the Indomitable moved with what seemed like brute force. Its hull plating caught the light from nearby stars, making it look like a giant flying mountain made of metal. "Sir?" came a voice through Park's communicator. "This is Chief Weapons Officer Kang Ji-hoon. We have identified a suitable target for the demonstration. Proceed, Chief Kang." The screen split to show two views. On the left was the Indomitable, floating motionless in space. On the right was a distant object, a decommissioned mining platform that had been abandoned in this system years ago. "The target," Park explained to the Senate, "is located 50,000 kilometers from our current position. It is a defunct asteroid mining platform with no current use or value." Senator Quindar studied the image carefully. "Captain, that mining platform has reinforced hull plating and energy shields even though it's been abandoned. It would take several direct hits from our most powerful plasma cannons to destroy it." "Noted, Senator. Chief Kang, you may fire when ready." What happened next confused every alien in the chamber. Instead of the bright energy beams they expected to see, there was just a small flash from the Indomitable's hull. No glowing plasma bolts, no crackling energy streams, no colorful particle beams. Just a tiny flicker of light that was barely visible. Was that it? Commander Thexallen laughed, his scales rattling with amusement. "Your mighty warship can barely produce a spark?" The aliens in the chamber began to murmur among themselves. Many seemed relieved that the human ship appeared to be harmless. Others looked confused about what they had just witnessed. Captain Park checked his chronometer. "Impact in 15 seconds. "Impact?" High Curator Zelnari floated closer to the Yao screen. "What impact? We saw no projectile, no energy beam, nothing." 10 seconds, Park said calmly. The aliens fell silent, staring at the screen. The mining platform hung peacefully in space, apparently untouched by whatever the human ship had fired. 5 seconds. Commander Thexallen was about to speak when the mining platform simply vanished. One moment it was there, a solid structure, made of metal and composite materials. The next moment there was nothing but an expanding cloud of vapor and debris. The Senate chamber erupted in shocked voices. Aliens were shouting questions in dozens of different languages. Several representatives jumped up from their seats demanding explanations. Silence! Chancellor Vexmar's voice boomed through the chamber. When the noise died down, he turned to Captain Park with obvious fear in his multiple eyes. What did you just do? We fired a single kinetic projectile at the target, Park replied, simply. A tungsten rod accelerated to approximately 12% of light speed. Impossible, breathed High Curator Zelnari. Kinetic weapons are primitive. They cannot achieve such destructive power. Lieutenant Commander Han Sujin's voice came through Park's communicator. Sir, target has been completely vaporized. Total energy release measured at 2.3 terajoules. The number meant nothing to most of the aliens, but the few scientists in the chamber looked horrified. Senator Quindar was frantically working on a calculation device. Captain Park, Quindar said slowly, that energy release is equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. How did you achieve this with a simple projectile? Park turned to face the senator directly. Honorable Senator, the answer lies in a principle that alien civilizations seem to have forgotten. Mass times velocity squared equals energy. Dr. Lee So-young's voice joined the conversation through the communicator. If I may explain, Captain? Please do, Dr. Lee. Honored members of the Senate, kinetic weapons have several advantages over energy-based systems. First, they require no exotic matter or complex energy manipulation. Second, they are nearly impossible to detect until impact. Third, they cannot be stopped by energy shields. The chamber fell deadly silent. Every alien representative was staring at the human captain with a mixture of fear and fascination. Cannot be stopped by energy shields? Commander Thexallen's voice was barely a whisper. That's impossible. Energy shields stop everything. They stop energy-based attacks, Park confirmed. But kinetic projectiles are solid matter moving at extremely high speeds. Energy shields are designed to deflect or absorb energy, not to stop physical objects. Dr. Ryu J. Sung, the ship's theoretical physicist, added his voice to the explanation. Think of it this way, honored aliens. Your shields can stop a lightning bolt, but can they stop a mountain thrown at near light speed? High Curator Zelnari was glowing so brightly now that nearby aliens had to shield their optical sensors. But the computational requirements, the targeting systems, the energy needed to accelerate a projectile to such speeds, are all well within human capabilities, Dr. Lee replied smoothly. We've had decades to perfect the technology. Chancellor Vexmar stood up slowly, his forearms trembling slightly. Captain Park, how many of these weapons does your ship carry? The Indomitable carries 47 kinetic launch systems of various sizes, Park replied. From small anti-fighter rounds to the heavy planetary assault projectiles. Planetary assault? Senator Quindar's voice cracked. You can attack planets? We can surgically remove specific targets from planetary surfaces with minimal collateral damage, Chief Weapons. Officer Kang Ji-hoon explained through the communicator. Or, if necessary, we can deliver planet-killing impacts. However, I should stress that such weapons are only for extreme defensive scenarios. The implications were sinking in. The aliens were realizing that humanity had developed weapons that could punch through their defenses as if they didn't exist. Weapons that were invisible until impact. Weapons that required no exotic materials or complex energy systems. Commander Thexallen was the first to voice what everyone was thinking. How long have humans possessed this technology? Captain Park looked directly at the Draconian commander. We began development 53 years ago, shortly after our first contact with galactic civilization. We realized that in order to survive among the stars, we needed to be able to defend ourselves effectively. 53 years? High Curator Zelnari's glow was pulsing rapidly now. You've been secretly developing these weapons for over 50 years? Not secretly, Ambassador Tejo spoke up from his position near the chamber entrance. We simply never advertised what we were doing. Human space has been completely peaceful since joining the Senate. We've never threatened anyone, never attacked anyone, never even displayed aggressive behavior. But you built weapons capable of destroying entire fleets, Chancellor Vexmar accused. We built defensive systems capable of protecting humanity from any threat, Park corrected. There is a significant difference. Senator Quindar was still working frantically on his calculations. Captain, according to my estimates, a single ship armed with these kinetic weapons could potentially defeat an entire battle fleet of conventional vessels. That depends on many factors, Senator. Fleet composition, tactical positioning, defensive measures. What defensive measures? Commander Thexallen interrupted. You just said that energy shields cannot stop kinetic projectiles. Dr. Lee's voice came through the communicator again. There are defensive options, Commander. Rapid evasive maneuvers, ablative armor plating, interceptor missiles. However, most galactic fleets are designed around energy-based combat, so they would need significant modifications. The Senate chamber was buzzing with nervous conversation. Representatives were talking rapidly with their aides, sending messages to their home governments, and trying to understand the implications of what they had just learned. Captain Park raised his hand for attention. Honored members of the Senate, I want to address your concerns directly. Yes, humanity has developed advanced kinetic weapons. Yes, these weapons are highly effective against current galactic defense systems, but we did not develop them for conquest or aggression. Then why? Chancellor Vexmar demanded. Because when we first joined galactic civilization, we studied. The private committee chambers deep within Nexus Prime Station were much smaller than the main Senate Hall. Only 12 aliens sat around the circular table, representing the most influential species in the Interstellar Senate. Captain Park Min-soo sat across from them, flanked by Ambassador Tejo and Dr. Lee So-young. Senator Quindar of the Mediator Coalition had been chosen to lead the inspection committee. His 6 hands moved nervously as he spoke. Captain Park, the Senate has agreed to tour your vessel, but we must be clear about our concerns. What we witnessed yesterday has unsettled many of our members. I understand, Senator, Park replied, calmly. That's exactly why we're here. Transparency builds trust. High Curator Zelnari's ethereal form pulsed with a dim, worried light. Captain, in 3,000 years of galactic civilization, no species has developed weapons that can completely bypass our defensive systems. The implications are staggering. Commander Thexallen leaned forward, his yellow eyes fixed on Park. Some of our military analysts believe that humanity could potentially defeat the combined fleets of all Senate members. Is this assessment accurate? Captain, Park exchanged a glance with Ambassador Tejo before answering. Commander, that question assumes that humanity has hostile intentions toward the Senate. I assure you we do not. That's not an answer. Thexallen pressed. It's the only answer I can give, Commander. Military capabilities are meaningless without the will to use them aggressively. Humanity seeks partnership, not conquest. Senator Quindar raised one of his hands. Perhaps we should proceed with the inspection. Actions will speak louder than words. The group made their way through the station's corridors toward the massive docking bay where the Indomitable waited. As they walked, Captain Park noticed that the station's security presence had tripled overnight. Armed guards stood at every intersection, and he could see the subtle shimmer of energy barriers that hadn't been there before. The Senate is taking precautions, Dr. Lee observed quietly. As they should, Park replied. We would do the same. The docking bay doors opened with a deep rumble, revealing the Indomitable in all its imposing bulk. Up close, the ship looked even more primitive to alien eyes. Its hull was a patchwork of gray metal plates held together with visible rivets and welding seams. There were no smooth curves, no elegant energy conduits, no glowing power systems. It looked like something built in an industrial shipyard rather than an advanced spacecraft facility. By the ancients, whispered High Curator Zelnari. It looks like it was hammered together by primitive metalworkers. Engineering specialist Bai Dong-hyun was waiting for them at the airlock, wearing the same simple blue uniform as the rest of the human crew. He was a young man with calloused hands and oil stains on his sleeves, hardly what the aliens expected from an advanced spacefaring civilization. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," Bai said with a slight bow. "I'll be conducting your technical tour today." As they entered the ship, the aliens looked around in amazement. The corridors were wide and functional, with exposed pipes and conduits running along the walls. Everything was painted in simple colors: gray, white, and blue. There were no holographic displays, no floating control interfaces, no energy-based lighting systems. "This is incredible," Senator Quindar muttered. "It's like stepping back in time 10,000 years. Not back in time, Senator," Bai corrected politely. "Forward into a different approach to technology." He led them to what he called the armor section, a part of the ship where they could see the hull construction up close. The aliens stared at the massive metal plates, each one over a meter thick. "Solid iron?" Commander Thex Allen asked in disbelief. "Iron-carbon composite with trace elements," Bai confirmed. "What your databases probably classify as primitive steel alloy." High Curator Zelnari floated closer to examine the hull plating. "But this is so crude, so heavy, so inefficient. Our ships use crystallized energy matrices that are thousands of times lighter and stronger." "Stronger against energy attacks, yes," Dr. Lee So-young said, joining the conversation. "But what happens when something physical hits your crystallized energy matrix?" "Well, the energy is absorbed and redistributed through the matrix structure." "Exactly. Your hull materials are designed to interact with energy. They absorb it, channel it, redirect it. That makes them very effective against energy weapons, but it also makes them vulnerable to physical impact." Bai ran his hand along one of the steel plates. "This armor doesn't absorb energy, Curator. It doesn't channel it or redirect it. When an energy weapon hits this hull, the energy has nowhere to go except to spread out harmlessly across the surface." "But surely the weight penalties are enormous," Senator Quindar asked. "That depends on your perspective, Senator. Yes, our ships are heavier than yours, but weight is only a disadvantage if you're trying to achieve the same performance characteristics as energy-based designs." Dr. Ryu J. Sung appeared around a corner, carrying a tablet covered with complex mathematical equations. He was an older man with gray hair and intense eyes that seemed to see patterns that others missed. "Ah, Dr. Ryu," Captain Park said. "Perhaps you could explain the physics to our guests?" "Of course, Captain." Ryu turned to the aliens with the enthusiasm of a teacher meeting eager students. "The fundamental error in galactic ship design is the assumption that lighter is always better, but in space combat, mass can be an advantage." "How so?" Commander Thex Allen asked skeptically. "Momentum, Commander. A heavier ship moving at the same speed carries more kinetic energy. It's harder to deflect, harder to stop, and harder to damage with weapons designed for lighter targets." They moved deeper into the ship, passing through sections that looked like industrial factories rather than spacecraft compartments. Massive machines hummed quietly, manufacturing ammunition, spare parts, and other supplies. "You build everything on board?" High Curator Zelnari asked. "Self-sufficiency is crucial for long-range missions," Bai explained. "We can manufacture anything we need from basic raw materials: weapons, armor plating, food, medicine, even replacement crew uniforms." "Impressive," Senator Quindar admitted. "Our ships require regular resupply from specialized facilities." "That's because your technology is more sophisticated," Dr. Lee said. "Quantum-bonded materials, crystallized energy matrices, bio-grown components. They require advanced manufacturing systems. Our crude steel and simple electronics can be made anywhere." They reached what Bai called the kinetic launch bay. The aliens stared in fascination at the massive magnetic acceleration systems that lined the walls. Unlike the elegant energy weapons they were used to, these looked like giant industrial machines designed to throw things very, very fast. Chief Weapons Officer Kang Ji-hoon was waiting for them. He was a quiet man with steady hands and the kind of calm confidence that came from years of practice with deadly tools. This is our primary kinetic launch system, Kang explained. It uses magnetic acceleration to propel tungsten projectiles at up to 15% of light speed. 15%? Commander Thex Allen's scales changed color with alarm. That's faster than our most advanced missiles. Yes, but much simpler, Kang replied. A missile requires guidance systems, fuel, complex targeting computers. Our projectiles are just pieces of metal moving very fast in straight lines. But how do you achieve accuracy? Senator Quindar asked. The same way humans have achieved accuracy for thousands of years, Dr. Ryu said, looking up from his calculations. We do the math. Trajectory, velocity, target movement, gravitational influences. It's all just physics and mathematics. High Curator Zelnari examined one of the tungsten projectiles. It looked like a simple metal rod, about a meter long, and perfectly smooth. This seems so basic. Where are the guidance systems? The explosive warheads, the energy containment fields? None needed, Kang explained. When something moving at 15% of light speed hits a target, the kinetic energy release is more than sufficient to destroy almost anything. But what about moving targets? Commander Thex Allen pressed. How do you hit a ship that's taking evasive action? Kang smiled slightly. We fire multiple projectiles with slightly different trajectories. Basic probability mathematics tells us that at least one will hit. The aliens looked at each other with growing unease. The human approach to warfare was so different from their own that it was hard to evaluate or counter. Admiral Oh Chang-min's voice came through the ship's communication system. Captain Park, we have an incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command. Priority Alpha. Put it through to my ready room, Admiral. Committee members, would you like to observe a typical command briefing? The group made their way to Captain Park's private office. Like everything else on the ship, it was functional and simple. A metal desk, a few chairs, and a large display screen. No decorative items, no luxury appointments, no signs of personal comfort. The screen activated, showing Fleet Admiral Oh Chang-min in what appeared to be a simple military office back on Earth. Behind him, they could see other humans working, at basic computer terminals and paper charts. Captain Park, the Admiral said, I've been monitoring the committee's tour. How are our guests finding the Indomitable? They seem impressed by our engineering approaches, Admiral. Good. I wanted them to hear this directly from Earth Command. Committee. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Interstellar Senate had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 200 species filled every seat, while thousands more watched through quantum communication links from their home worlds. The debate over humanity's membership application had been going on for 6 hours, and the tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho sat in the human section, watching as alien after alien stood up to voice their concerns, their fears and their hopes. Some speakers demanded humanity's immediate expulsion from Senate space. Others argued for full membership with all privileges. Most fell somewhere in between, uncertain and confused by what they had learned. Chancellor Vexmar called for order, as Senator Yindari of the Crystalline Federation finished a long speech about the dangers of primitive kinetic technology in the hands of unpredictable mammals. The chamber gradually quieted. The inspection committee will now present its final report, Vexmar announced. Senator Quindar of the Mediator Coalition, you may proceed. Senator Quindar rose slowly from his seat. His 6 hands held a thick data tablet. But Tae-ho noticed that the senator wasn't looking at it. Instead, his large eyes were focused directly on the human section. Honored members of the Senate, Quindar began. The inspection committee has completed its evaluation of humanity's vessel and capabilities. Our findings will likely surprise many of you. The chamber fell silent. Even the translation system seemed to pause, waiting for the senator's next words. First, regarding humanity's technology, the human vessel Indomitable represents a completely different approach to spacecraft design and military capability. Where galactic civilization has pursued elegance, energy efficiency, and sophisticated materials science, humanity has pursued simplicity, reliability, and overwhelming effectiveness. High Curator Zelnari's ethereal form began to glow brighter as Quindar continued. Their weapon systems are based on principles that most of our civilizations abandoned thousands of years ago. Yet they have refined these primitive principles to a degree that makes them superior to our own advanced systems in many key areas. How superior? Called out a voice from the Draconian section. According to our combat simulations, Quindar replied, a single human vessel of the Indomitable class could potentially engage and defeat a conventional battle group of 12 to 15 ships. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Several representatives stood up shouting questions or objections. Chancellor Vexmar pounded his ceremonial gavel repeatedly to restore order. However, Quindar continued once the noise died down, the committee's most important finding concerns not humanity's capabilities but their intentions. He paused, looking around the chamber to make sure he had everyone's attention. In 3 days of intensive inspection and questioning, we found no evidence that humanity has any aggressive intentions toward the Senate or its member species. Their entire military philosophy appears to be genuinely defensive in nature. Commander Thex Allen stood up, his scales an agitated shade of orange. How can we trust their claimed peaceful intentions when they possess such overwhelming military superiority? That, Commander, is precisely why we can trust them, Quindar replied. Consider this. Humanity has possessed these weapons for over 50 years. In that time, they have never used them aggressively against any Senate member. They have never threatened anyone, never demanded territory or resources, never engaged in any hostile action whatsoever. Dr. Yoon Hae-won's voice came through the chamber's communication system. She was still aboard the Indomitable, but her words reached every seat. If I may address the Senate directly? Chancellor Vexmar nodded. Permission. Honored members, I am Dr. Yoon Hae-won, xenobiologist aboard the human vessel. I have studied your species for many years and I understand your concerns about humanity's weapons. But I ask you to consider our actions, not just our capabilities. What do you mean? Asked a voice from the ethereal section. Humanity could have revealed these weapons at any time during our 50-year association with galactic civilization. We could have used them to demand better trade agreements, preferred status, territorial concessions. We could have used the threat of force to get anything we wanted. The chamber was completely quiet now. Even the most suspicious representatives were listening carefully. Instead, Dr. Yoon continued, we chose to develop peacefully alongside your civilizations. We traded fairly, shared scientific discoveries freely, and contributed to galactic security through conventional means. We revealed our true capabilities only when directly challenged about them. General Nam Woo-seok's image appeared on the chamber's main screen. Behind him, they could see what appeared to be a simple military command center on Earth. Members of the Senate, General Nam said, I want to address the elephant in the room, as we humans say. Many of you are afraid that humanity will use our weapons to dominate the galaxy. I'm here to tell you that domination is the last thing we want. Why should we believe you? Commander Thex Allen demanded. Because, Commander, we've studied galactic history. We know what happens to conquerors in the long run. They become targets for every other civilization in the galaxy. They spend all their resources on maintaining control instead of building prosperity. Eventually, they fall, and they fall hard. Dr. Shin Young-mi joined the general on screen. The committee asked us yesterday why humanity developed kinetic weapons instead of more advanced energy-based systems. The answer is simple. Because energy-based weapons are designed for conquest, while kinetic weapons are designed for defense. Explain that distinction, Senator Quindar requested. Energy weapons are precise, controllable, and can be modulated for different effects. They're perfect for subjugating populations, capturing territory, or demonstrating power. Kinetic weapons are absolute. They either destroy the target completely or they miss entirely. They're terrible for conquest, but excellent for deterrence. Captain Park Min-soo's voice joined the conversation from the Indomitable's bridge. Honored senators, humanity's military doctrine can be summarized in 4 words: peace through overwhelming deterrence. We want every potential aggressor to know that attacking humanity or our allies would be so costly that it's simply not worth attempting. High Curator Zelnari floated forward in her atmospheric bubble. But Captain, If you share your defensive technologies with all Senate members, won't that eliminate your deterrent advantage? Not at all, Curator. Our deterrent effect comes from having better defenses than potential aggressors, not from having better defenses than our allies. The stronger our allies are, the more secure we all become. Fleet Admiral Oh Chang-min appeared on the screen beside the General and Dr. Shin. The Senate should also understand that humanity's offer of technology sharing comes with an implicit promise. We're not just offering to help you defend against kinetic weapons. We're promising to help you defend against any threat, from any source. What does that mean in practical terms? Asked Senator Quindar. It means that if any civilization, human or alien, attempts to use kinetic weapons for conquest or aggression, humanity will help the targeted species defend themselves. We're essentially offering to make kinetic-based conquest impossible for everyone, including ourselves. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversation as representatives discussed this unexpected offer among themselves. Chancellor Vexmar called, "For attention. Captain Park, General Nam, what exactly are you proposing?" General Nam stepped forward. "We propose the creation of a galactic defense initiative. Every Senate member receives access to kinetic-resistant armor technology, point defense systems, and early warning networks. In return, all members agree to use kinetic weapons only for defensive purposes and to assist other members against any aggressor using kinetic attacks." Essentially, Dr. Shin added, "we're proposing to make humanity's military advantage work for everyone instead of just for humanity." Commander Thexalen's scales had shifted to a thoughtful blue color. "And if a Senate member refuses to join this defense initiative, then they remain vulnerable to kinetic attacks," Captain Park replied simply. "But they also lose the protection that comes from being part of a mutual defense agreement. Most rational civilizations will choose to join." Senator Quindar raised one of his hands. "The committee recommends that the Senate accept humanity's proposal. Full membership in exchange for defensive technology sharing and participation in the Galactic Defense Initiative." "Seconded," called High Curator Zelnari, to everyone's surprise. "Thirded," added a voice from the Crystalline Federation section. The formal vote took 2 hours. Representatives stood up one by one to declare their position. Some species voted enthusiastically in favor, others agreed reluctantly. A few small civilizations abstained, saying they needed more time to consider the implications. When it was over, Chancellor Vexmar announced the results. By a vote of 847 in favor, 23 opposed, and 31 abstaining, the Interstellar Senate formally accepts humanity as a full-member civilization with Tier 1 status. The chamber erupted in cheers, though not everyone was celebrating. Ambassador Tejo felt a weight lifting from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized was there. Furthermore, Vexmar continued, "The Senate approves the creation of the Galactic Defense Initiative as proposed by humanity.